Hyperdocs are a tool that I stumbled on a few years ago as a part of our curriculum and technology team here in Scotts Valley, and I have been incorporating them into my teaching practice ever since. They are a great tool for distance learning, but also a great tool for teaching in general, and they've been really helpful even for my in-class instruction. As I go, please, if you have any questions, go ahead and shout them out. If you're just showing up, I'm gonna put the link to today's presentation again in the chat. Zoom doesn't let you see what's in the chat, and if you just got here, so I have to keep throwing that in there. If at any point you need a link, or if you have any questions, again, please let me know. So, Hyperdocs. This is kind of what our agenda this afternoon is going to be. We're going to talk about what are Hyperdocs. I'm going to show you some examples of Hyperdocs. We're going to talk about the basics of Hyperdoc creation, why we should be using Hyperdocs in our teaching practice, Hyperdocs and lesson design, and how we can incorporate Hyperdocs into every subject that we teach. I will throw a bunch of links and resources at you towards the end, and then we will probably have time for questions. All right. So, what are Hyperdocs? Hyperdocs are essentially a portmanteau of two words, hyperlinks and digital documents. A hyperlink being any link on the internet, any clickable link on the internet that will take you to a web address. So if a resource online has a web address, you can create a hyperlink for it. And when I say digital documents, I mean any digital documents like Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sites, anything basically with a text box, you can create a hyperlink for. So a Hyperdoc is any digital document that contains all of the links that students will need to complete either a unit or a lesson or an activity. And you will, you'll see as we continue here that Hyperdocs can be, you can have a Hyperdoc for a whole unit of study with all the links the students will need for that unit of study. You could have a Hyperdoc for one individual lesson. You could have it for a series of lessons. You could have it for a 10-minute activity. It's really up to you and how you want to use it. Hyperdocs can be looked at as a repackaging of your content to make it more engaging and applicable to 21st century learning and distance learning. You know, it's a great way to teach your content, teach your grade level content in a new way. And this term Hyperdoc was created by 3 teachers out of, I believe, Pleasanton: Lisa Highfill, Kelly Hilton, and Sarah Landis. As we go through this presentation, you will notice that this presentation itself is a Hyperdoc. So I have built links into this presentation. Each of these underlined names here is a link to that person's Twitter account. Throughout the presentation, there will be some images that are clickable links. For example, this top, this check mark here, if you click it, it will take you to the Hyperdocs website, which we'll be getting into a little bit later. This link right here will take you to kind of the basic Hyperdoc template. So if you hear the term Hyperdoc, people are usually thinking about this. So we can take a minute to get into this. And so this is the basic structure of a Hyperdoc. It'll start with an engage portion where you want the students at the beginning of a lesson to engage with your content, a video, an image that they interact with, a quote, some sort of hook. After that, you give them the Explore section, which is kind of your curated resources that you want them to learn from. Basically, it's like read this paragraph, or read this Newsella article, or watch and respond to this video. Any resource online that is going to teach your students more about the topic that you're teaching. An important part of Hyperdocs is this explain part, and that's kind of your direct teaching. So Hyperdocs are great for asynchronous learning, but they probably shouldn't be completely asynchronous. You do want to have a little bit of direct teaching in there. Otherwise, the students might get a little bit lost in the process. So the explain is kind of when you're giving them your objective. Okay, you've had time to engage with this topic. You have explored a little bit about this topic. Now let's talk about what I want you to learn about this topic. The next step would then be apply. So students are going to take what they have learned and they are going to create something. So that could be a simple Google document, a writing assignment, it could be a Google Slides, it could be a Flipgrid video, it could be a Canva poster, pretty much any web resource for work output that you want the students to use, you can include in a Hyperdoc. And I'm going to be giving you a resource at the end with a ton of different tech tools that you can use for your Hyperdocs. You want the students to both share and reflect. Sharing hopefully happens with a larger audience than just you and the student. Inviting the other students in for sharing, or even a larger community if it's a bigger project, can be really powerful for the students. I don't know if anyone has just joined. The link to the presentation is in the chat. And then you want to give students a chance to reflect on their learning progression, and then you have an opportunity to extend. Did you like that? If you finished early, take this next step. So if I were to create a Hyperdoc for today's presentation, it might look something like this. And so I clicked that bottom link in the presentation, and it took us to a page that's going slow, probably because I have a million tabs open. So this is a Hyperdoc I created with this presentation in mind. So our engage might be, if we had time to go through this, which we don't, the engage might be to watch this short YouTube video about Hyperdocs. It could be, and then you would go to the Explore, where you would read an article about Hyperdocs, you would check out that basic template that I just showed you. Then the explain portion would be my presentation, which is what I'm doing now. That's kind of the direct teaching. And then the apply, I would say go create a Hyperdoc of your own using this template that I've linked right here. Share that Hyperdoc with us in the chat or on Google Classroom or with the person next to you. And then reflect using Padlet, which I'll show you later. Reflect on your learning, ask any questions. So if I had 2 hours with you guys, this is probably how I would take you through through learning about Hyperdocs. Is I would take you through a Hyperdoc itself so you could really get the feel for it. But this is the basic structure of a Hyperdoc. Now, this is not the end all be all. You can do anything you want in terms of structure with a Hyperdoc, but this is kind of the classic version. I'll be showing you a lot of different versions, a lot of different templates of Hyperdocs as we go. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to just shout out, because I can't see all of you and I won't know if you have a question. So that's what Hyperdocs are. Next, we get to the basics of creating a Hyperdoc. And down to the basic core, it's creating a hyperlink. So a link would be any web address, anything with a URL you can create a hyperlink for. So follow these steps, you can create a hyperlink, and I'll show you how to do that. So step one, you're going to find the web address or the link that you want to include in your Hyperdoc. You're gonna copy that link. You're going to insert that link into whatever digital document you're using, and then you're going to name that link. So let me show you what that might look like. So let's say I have a blank Google document here, and I want my students to learn all about the Orion Nebula. So I want to give them a link to this great website that I found from NASA. I don't want them to search Google for 20 minutes to find the perfect link. I want to give them this link because it has a lot of great information and it's very engaging. So what I'm going to do, like my presentation says, I found my web address. I'm going to copy the link. Control C or right click or however you want to do that. I'm going to go back to my Hyperdoc. I'm going to paste that link. And there you go. Now, I think most of you probably know how to do this with a digital document. But if a student sees this, especially if you teach littles, they're not going to know what the heck that is. You know it's a link because it's blue, because it's underlined, it has the www. But you want to make it a little bit more engaging for the students. So let's forget that. And what we're going to do is we're going to instead create a link this way. There's actually a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to show you all the different ways. So one way you could do it is you could paste that link like you did there, like I did there. I could select all the text, and then I see that the link pops up, and there's this edit link button. When I click that, it gives me this pop-up window with two fields. The first being the text that I want to be displayed, and the second being the link. Don't change the link because that tells tells your browser where to go. But the link, I want the text to say Orion's Nebula. Click apply. There's your link. Okay. You can also do that by going to the menu and creating a link that way. Insert link, and same thing. You could just paste the link. Google's wanting to do this for me now because I've done it so many times. Apply, you can do Control K, it'll get you that same dialog box or the double field box. There's also this link button in the toolbar. Google really wants you to create links. Another thing that can make your Hyperdocs even more engaging is to attach your link to a picture. So let's say I want, instead of having the kids create click a text link, I want to create kind of like a button for them to click with a picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to insert image. I'm going to upload an image that I already have chosen, but you can search online for any image you want. Here's my image of the Orion constellation. The nebula is right down there. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just so it's manageable. And then now what I can do, while the image is selected, I can click insert link. I can do Control K, and that will get me my link box. And then I can paste my link right into that box and click apply. And now this picture is a link. So that's the basics of creating a hyperlink. You know, you could say, click here, so students know, oh, that's a link, that's a clickable link. Because otherwise, they might just think it's a picture. You could also, you could do a lot of fun things with formatting, well, I'm not going to get into that. You could do drop shadow, put a border on it, whatever, so it looks more like a button or something like that. So that is creating a hyperlink. Any questions so far? Am I going at a good pace, leaving anyone behind? Okay, cool. So we know how to create a hyperlink. So why should we be using Hyperdocs? I love Hyperdocs because they are editable and they are flexible. I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times I have either created or found a worksheet online and I have gone to the copy room, I have run off a class set, and then I get back to my classroom, I hand them out to my kids, and I didn't notice some egregious typo on the worksheet, and I have 10 kids in the class raising their hands saying, Mr. A, this is wrong, this is wrong. With a Hyperdoc, you can just, since it's a digital document, you can just go in, edit it. If you find something that you're giving the students is too difficult, you can change it on the fly, and since you are sharing this document with your students, it's going to be a live document so that they're going to they're going to see those changes in real time. Rebecca asked if there are pre-designed templates. There are a ton of pre-designed templates. I'm going to be showing you a lot of those. So sit tight. Hyperdocs really help provide focus, especially, for me, I teach 5th grade. So my students come in and research isn't one of their strongest skills yet. They might have some knowledge of it, but I don't want them to spend 40 minutes finding resources online. I really want them to take information from the resources that I give them. So you can curate the resources that you want them to have really easily. Hyperdocs are great for asynchronous learning, so they're student-paced. Move beyond worksheets and textbooks, and students will be able to interact with this kind of at their own level. And I really love Hyperdocs because it's an easy way to build in student choice with the work output. So with the amount of tech tools that we have at our disposal for students to create content, you can provide so many opportunities for them to engage with the content that you give them and to create and apply something along different modalities. They could create a Google Doc, they could create a Google Slides, they could create a digital poster, they could create a movie in Adobe Spark or iMovie, they could create a Flipgrid video. It's just the list is endless. Another reason why we should be using Hyperdocs, it's a chance to build the 4 C's into lesson design. And if you've been here all day doing workshops, then this is probably not the first time you've heard someone talk about the 4 C's. If you need a refresher, this is a link right here to an NEA article, a guide to the 4 C's. I'm not going to get into that right now, but the link is there. Each one of these circles on my presentation is a link. So if you want to engage students with thinking critically, you might have them check out a video on TED Ed. If you want to give them a communication tool, you might have them create a Flipgrid video. And you're noticing how I built these links directly into my presentation. For students, you would want it to be a little bit more obvious that there's a link there. You don't want to say, click this link or whatever, because otherwise they're not going to know that that's a resource for them to use. I wanted to be a little more streamlined and sneaky with my presentation. For collaboration, Padlet is a tool that I'm just starting to use a lot. I'll show you that at the end for questions. It's a good collaboration tool. And then for creativity, my newest favorite website for students creating content is Canva. So if you haven't used Canva yet, it is taking a long time to load, but it is basically a graphic design website with a ton of different templates for basically any graphic design that you would want to do or you would want the students to do. It has a template for. And it's not specifically geared toward education, but they do have a ton of great templates for education. And right now, because of COVID, Canva is actually offering their pro platform for free for educators. All you have to do is all you have to do is apply. So I'm waiting to hear back from them on that. Hopefully I'll be able to use their pro. It just opens up a lot of different features. But even if you don't have the pro, it's a great tool for students to use. And I believe you can, like, it, I haven't gotten into it with students yet, but it's very user friendly. So there's just a handful of tech resources that you can build into your Hyperdocs to engage your students along the 4 C's of lesson design. So questions, comments? Cool. All right. All right. So you want to create a Hyperdoc. Now, as I said earlier, there are a lot of pre-designed templates, but let's say you have a lesson or a project that you've done in person every year and you need to take it digital this year. Obviously, we're all doing distance learning, so it's going to be a challenge. But if you follow these steps, you should be able to create something that the students will be able to engage with. So identify the lesson or the unit that you want to teach. You want to identify the student outcomes. So how are they going to show what they know? And that's really going to help determine what resources you give them in terms of creating content. After that, you're going to want to gather those resources and tech tools. And so what materials will they be learning from? So YouTube videos, Newsella articles, you know, you name it. You can push that content out through Hyperdocs. You then want to create your digital document. You can use a pre-made template or create your own. Very easy to, that first blank template I showed you, I would suggest probably starting with that. And then share with your students on Google Classroom. When I share Hyperdocs with my students, a lot of times I will share it as view only so that they don't mess with the formatting of it. But there are Hyperdocs out there, and I'll show you one in a little bit, where you the students work directly in the Hyperdoc. So you'd be making a copy for each student. And then the great thing about Hyperdocs is that you don't have to put them in a file cabinet. They're right there in your Google Drive, and you can edit and adapt as needed. You know, what worked, what didn't work, what, you know, I've been using Hyperdocs for a couple of years, and I can't tell you, I look back at some of the ones that I created when I first started, and I shake my head because they're just so far off the mark. But that's the great thing, is that they're so easily editable. Kat asks, can you share to Seesaw as well as Google Classroom? I am not familiar with Seesaw, but I would imagine so. Is there any, I would imagine you can share a document with Seesaw. Can anyone speak to that? Anyone that's used Seesaw? Okay. Gina says she uses Seesaw. Gina, can you like share a document with the students? Like if you have a Google Doc, you could push it out through Seesaw. I don't know if Gina can hear me, or maybe she's typing. Upload. Kat says upload link. So is that the same? You could give them the link to your document. Yes, but then you would want to make sure that your sharing permissions are set to view only, because you don't want your students to go in and change a bunch of stuff. So, all right. And I hope I answered your question. All right. So the great thing about Hyperdocs is that you can use them for any subject. And so each one of these is a link to a different Hyperdoc. And I'm actually going to exit out of my presentation because I don't want to take the time to open these links right now because I already have them open. So for example, this first link takes you to a reader's workshop template. This is actually a pre-made lesson about nonfiction reading if you use If you follow the workshop model for your reading and writing instruction, Hyperdocs could work really well for that. So this is how a teacher might push out a reader's workshop lesson. And you notice it doesn't follow that template. It's a different, it looks different, but in essence, it's the same. So at the beginning, there's a video to hook, and then some exploration. They look at their text complexity cards, listen to the read aloud, and then they do something. They read with their partner, they use the cards, they share, they create a video to reflect, that kind of thing. So you could do this for Reader's Workshop. And even simpler for Reader's Workshop, this is one of the first Hyperdocs I used, and it was for a Reader's Workshop session. And all I had them do is, this was for a persuasive reading, all I had them do was read these linked articles, and I sent each student a copy of this Hyperdoc. So they read each one of these articles, and for each article, they had to analyze what the claim was, what the reasons were, what the evidence was for each of those articles, and then they had to write a short opinion piece, a paragraph about which article made the most convincing argument. So, you know, a lot of the templates and a lot of the examples that you're going to see, there's a lot on them, because one thing that teachers like to do is they like to go overboard or go big and be a little extra with their lesson design. But I would start very simple. Even if you don't teach littles, you know, I would start very, very basic, and I would start with synchronous learning. I would take them through the process step by step, show them what a Hyperdoc is and how it works, and be very explicit with what you want them to know. You know, for even K1, 2, you could very simply have one Google slide with one link in the middle that says click here, and it takes them to a video. You know, it would at the very least help teach some of those tech standards that we the ISTE standards for students that we're supposed to be teaching students. And so by using Hyperdocs, and yet another reason to use them is that you are building that tech knowledge into your content. So, so we looked at a reader's workshop lesson. A writer's workshop might look something like this, the teaching points at the top. This is a template, and there are a ton of templates online. Anytime you find a template, all you have to do is you go to File and make a copy. Once you do that, you'll rename it. You'll be the owner of it, and then you can edit it. Like right now, I can't go in and edit this. I can't put any hyperlinks in here. I can't put a YouTube video in because I don't have editing access, because whoever created this obviously wants to keep their template the same, which they should. So File, make a copy, and then you can enter in whatever links that you want. So this is what it might look like for a writer's workshop. For math is an area in Hyperdocs that I'm not super comfortable with yet, but I know teachers do use it. I found not that one. Well, might as well just click the link. That's why I created it. Oh, come on. There it is. A hyper slides about adding fractions for 4th and 5th grades, and they linked videos and things like that. You could definitely use this in conjunction with Pear Deck too, if you're familiar with Pear Deck, and take the kids through step by step a Google Doc or a Google Slides presentation with embedded links. Social studies is an area I use Hyperdocs a lot with. this was a Hyperdoc that I created in the spring, and this is an example of I threw way too much at the students, and I should have. Let's see, Kat asked, can you link Khan Academy or Quizlet? Or for math, you can link anything with a web address. Anything that you can find online, you can create a link for it. If it has a URL up here, you can create a hyperlink for it. Doesn't matter what. Including the Google Docs that you create. So you could have a Hyperdoc that links to another Hyperdoc. In fact, check this out. I didn't show this to the last one, but in my presentation, each one of these is a link. Each one of in my agenda. So if I wanted to jump straight to lesson design, I click that and it takes me to the lesson design page, because each slide in Google Slides has its own unique address. So you notice the address changes from slide to slide. So you can link individual slides in Google Slides. So even if you have a presentation with 50 slides, if you just want to show them that one slide, take that link from that one slide and give it to them in a hyperlink. Anyways, I was back here on this one. I asked my students to do way too much. Each of these was this was a video. These were Newsella articles. These were 5 textbook chapters. The spring, we were just throwing work at kids and saying, do something with it, right? So I probably wouldn't use this again without completely retooling it and making it a little bit more easy to do. But here's the Explore, where they had to explore these documents, explain, they had to take notes, the Apply. I gave them, now here's where the student choice comes in. I gave them a bunch of different ways to show what they know here. And each one of these is a link. So for example, if they're going to write a poem, I linked to a bunch of different examples of kind of a colonial or Revolutionary War poetry. I linked to a crossword puzzle creator. I linked to examples of a flowchart. I linked to an interview. I linked to a letter. I linked to a rap or a song. You know, these are all examples of what they could do. Now, if I were to go back and do this again, I would probably give them fewer choices. I'd still give them choices. I'd probably give them fewer choices, but I would also give them, like, if they were going to compose a song, I would send them to a website where they can actually create a song, rather than just giving them. I think this is just an example of a song. Anyway. At the end, I had them take a quiz on Google Forms. I use Google Forms in a lot of my Hyperdocs because they're such a great assessment tool. So I create a quiz in Google Forms, and then I will link it in my Hyperdoc. Where was I? All subjects. Science, you can, where is it? You know, if you do the 5 E's, lesson design in science, there's templates for that. And this link right here with the people, this is one that so I gave this presentation for my district a couple weeks ago, and I didn't have this link in here. And this link is something that I put in there because with distance learning, all I've been thinking about is the first 2 weeks of school and how am I going to create community with distance learning. And so if you click this link in the presentation, it'll take you to a Hyperdoc I created today. And you notice super simple, just some links on a document. But these are all examples of Hyperdocs to build community. So for example, this one, hopes and dreams. The instructions are at the top. There's a kid president video to watch. And then this is one where the students would be responding directly in the Hyperdoc. So you'd want to make a copy for each student. Reading Maria says, I like the example with you showed with the 5 articles students had to identify the claim. Can you show me where to find that example? Oh, she's talking about this one. I can definitely share this Hyperdoc. This is one I created, so I didn't put it in my presentation. But in case you don't know how to change permissions on a Google Doc, now check this out. So you just click share, and down here where it says get link, I'm gonna change this link. I want anyone to see it, so I click that. Anyone with the link can now view this document. And you can change it to a commenting or editing. I'm gonna keep it as viewing, copy the link. I'll throw it in the chat. Now you have, oh, and now you have that Google Doc or that Hyperdoc. So, but you'll just have to make a copy when you want to use it yourself. And make sure these links work. I didn't use this last year, so I think they're still good. That's another thing you always want to do if you find a Hyperdoc online. Make sure the links are live and appropriate. Yeah, because you never know what people are creating. Where was I? Community building. So yeah, the hopes and dreams. So each one of these is a link to a Hyperdoc to build community. And so this one I really like, but it's also really big. Like if you take a look at this, if you just kind of scroll, there is a lot for students to do. I would probably give students, at least 2 weeks to do this, especially since it's asking them to create an inspirational quote and make a Google drawing or Google Slides. It's asking a lot of the students. But if you make a copy of this, you can edit it down to whatever. You could literally just copy this first section where the kids watch the video and respond. And you just have that in a document, and that's what you send out. That's what you push out to students. That's what I mean by them being editable. Like if you find something you like online, take it, make a copy, use it, but then definitely tailor it to what you want the students to do and what you know the students are capable of. So a lot of different resources in that link there. I put some other links and resources here. The Hyperdocsco website, we already took a brief look at that, but if we want to go back to that website, I would suggest creating an account. It's free. This is the website that was created, I believe, by those 3 teachers that I linked to earlier in the presentation. And if you, sorry, don't scroll down. If you go up to find under templates and samples, templates gives templates for all kinds of different lessons. So here's the basic one I showed you. Here's a creative writing challenge, animal reports, explore, explain, apply, the 5 E's, nonfiction reading. Some of these are the ones that I linked in my presentation, and some of them I did not. And then there are literally samples for every subject on this website. So, excuse me, no need to reinvent the wheel here. If you have something simple you want the students to do, then you might create something on your own. But if you have something very content driven, you might be able to find it. You might be able to type in Revolutionary War Hyperdoc and find something that you can, if not use right away, you can adapt for your own teaching. Okay. This link down here, the Hyperdoc Builder, I definitely want to show you this. I participated in the Digital Q conference this spring, and this is a resource I picked up from them. All the big Hyperdoc people were there, and it's a Hyperdoc Builder, and this presentation has basically all of the tech tools that you will need to create a Hyperdoc. So there's links to templates, examples, resources, and content. These are all, again, all different examples of Hyperdocs that you can, they're not organized in any meaningful way, but you could definitely spend hours on here. Again, they linked to individual slides within this presentation. And then for each part of the basic Hyperdoc structure, the engage, explore, explain, apply, share, reflect, extend, for each one of those, this person has put together a bunch of different links for you to use. So for the engage, you might have them watch a YouTube video. You might have them read a quote, do an answer garden, estimation 180, listen to a podcast. And then for the explore, might have them look at an infographic, something from PBS Learning Media, Newsella. So there are a ton of different links on this presentation for you to take some time with in terms of what resources you want to give to your students when you are creating a Hyperdoc. I can definitely post the link to my presentation. 1 second. There you go. So the Hyperdoc Builder, definitely take some time with that. And then we're just about at the end here. But my last slide, if you have any questions or comments, you can click this link. It will take you to a Padlet. If you haven't used Padlet, it looks like, well, it looks like a lot of different things. It's basically a way for a collaboration tool. And so I've asked if anyone has any questions here. You'll see a couple different things from my earlier presentation. Oh, didn't want to do that. From my earlier presentation, and I'll go ahead and put that link into the chat as well. So if you have any questions, you can type them in here, and I'll get back to you if you put an email address. Otherwise, I think we have some time for questions right now, if anyone has any for me while I'm here. Okay, going once for questions, going twice for questions. I think I've hit everything that I want to hit in my presentation. Lily raised a hand. Lily, go ahead.
Hi, let me see if I can phrase this question.
Sure.
Is this similar to what people are using a hyperlink for Bitmoji Classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. I can actually, so here's my Bitmoji Classroom that I've been creating. So in my class, I do a riddle of the week every week. And so this right here is actually a link to my riddle of the week presentation. So when students go into my virtual classroom, they will click that and it'll take them to my riddle of the week, and they'll be able to try to answer the riddle there. So yeah, the Bitmoji virtual classroom is in essence a Hyperdoc. Yeah. So great question, because I know a lot of you are using these Bitmoji classrooms right now. I'm dipping my feet into it. I wanted to do it last year, but Lily, again, go ahead.
Thank you. Do you know if I could make the classroom banner in my Google Classroom a Hyperdoc?
I am not sure about that. I want to say I think so, but you would have to test that out. We could test it out right now. I could take, let's see. Let's go to my Google Classroom from last year if I wanted to Yeah, it might. I'm not sure. I don't think so because it has to be a photo, and you're not going to be able to uh, insert a link into a photo. Um, so if anyone knows the answer to that, or if anyone can contradict that, please let me know. But I don't think that that is an option. So
I just did the Google Classroom one, and she showed us there is a way to edit like what you're writing in there. And she suggested those of us using Zoom instead of Google Meet would actually put our Zoom link up where it says like period or description, like all those different things that you can write in.
right, so you could edit this text that you see here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, how do you do that, by the way? Do you remember?
You click on the settings, the wheel, and then yeah, where it's details. So in one of those underneath your name, in one of those details on top, yeah, right up, yeah, the class details. Can you do it in one of those? I mean, I know you can type in there. I just don't know if you could put a link because I just only learned about links from you right now.
I'm not sure. I'll have to mess around with that.
Okay.
So great question. And Alice Hughes, pondering how to use this effectively teaching online choir. Well, I mean, I would imagine that you're going to be having them listen to examples of songs online. So you could, there's your hook. You could use a resource like Flipgrid for them to actually record them singing, or any other recording resource. Audacity is good for audio recording, and it's free. So yeah, there's lots of different applications. Any other questions? Go ahead and shout them out if you have them, because I can. All right. So thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday afternoon. It's been great getting to share this with you, and hope everyone has a great weekend. Please remember to be kind to yourself in this new learning adventure we're heading out on, and good luck with the beginning of your school year.